Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Gimpy, again. I'm here with what I know a lot of you guys have been excitedly waiting for because I've gotten a few comments and messages about it. This is turn 1 of Heroes against the Red Star, the scenario counterattack. Let me show you in the book just in case anyone's following through. It is page 30 right there, Heroes against the Red Storm. And before I start touching on things, I want to thank one person, Tony. He's been giving me a mess load of help, improving the quality of my videos, helping me with graphics and things of that nature, helping me learn how to do some of this video editing type crap. So I really appreciate the help, and I'm sure you guys appreciate the improved quality over time from what I've started with. In fact, I'm planning on going back and reshooting some of my original videos to update them with the better graphics and things that I've learned since then. But Tony, I do appreciate all the help. All right, down to this. I decided for this turn, I'm not going to rush it. You know, the later turns, we'll see how things go. But this one, I'm going to take low and slow. All right, I'm going to walk things through. I'm introducing a lot of new stuff in this game. Armored vehicles, aircraft. Well, aircraft have been in previous videos, but the fixed wing aircraft are going to be in this. There's some special scenario rules, weapon teams, anti-tank guided missiles. Some of these things have thermal imaging, which is new to the modern stuff. I mean, there's so many little special rules. There's no way I'm going to remember them all off the top of my head, so we're going to take and do this nice and slow, and if I end up doing turn 1 as a two-parter, that's just how it's going to be. But I want to make sure that those of you who are curious about these things and do have questions, that I answer them to the best of my ability as we go through. I'm sure some of the stuff that you might be confused about is easier than you really think, but you want to see it played out to really get the gist of it. To remind you guys a few things. One, I took the sniper. I mentioned in the setup video that he's going there, and he is going there, but he has to be placed. I've got him set here in the center of the map just to remind me that the first Russian turn is just going to be placing the sniper, just so I don't forget to place him later. But in this scenario, he has until turn 4 to be placed out. All right. Now, the 5 tanks up here with the smoke markers on them, those, like I said again, according to the scenario, they're remnants from a previous battle in this area, and they're destroyed tanks, well, possibly destroyed tanks. And on your turn, you can take an impulse and roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, the tank is playing possum and it comes back to life, and you have an extra unit. And 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it is 3, 4, 5, 6, isn't it? Yeah, 3 through 6. It's marked with a smoke 1 marker, indicating that it's totally destroyed. You can't activate it again, and the smoke 1 marker functions as a smoke marker, except that it is not removed for the duration of the scenario. All right. The way I'm going to do this to remind myself is I have all the tanks face up at the moment. When I do them, when I try to activate them and I roll on them, if they activate back, I'm just going to remove the smoke marker, and bam, there's an extra tank. Hopefully for my side, because I'm already severely outnumbered. If the tank does not come back, I'm going to leave the smoke marker and flip the tank face down to where its ordnance side is face up. That way I'll know that an attempt's already been made on that tank, and there's no need to worry about it any further. What else is there to touch on? I think that's it before I get started on it. Any other little special scenario rules? I'll touch on line of sight and stuff like that when I get into it, but what you have to remember with tanks, like I've pointed out previously, you see that red triangle there at the very front. They have an arc that they can fire out of. So for example, this tank, ignoring this little building here, fires out of these 2 front hexes, and then these 3, and then these, and then these, and it expands on out. in its arc, all right? But turreted tanks can turn their turrets. Oh, that's what I was going to mention. If a tank does not have a marker on it, one of these little turret markers, it's considered open. If I do close the tank because of it's taking fire, it's shaking, whatever, or it's turning its turret to fire in a different direction, then I'll put a marker on it at that time. Otherwise, consider the tank open and turret facing forward for our purposes. And that's it. So let's get started at it. Like I said, I'm going to walk it through real slow just to make sure I don't make any goofs. And for those of you who are curious about it or anything you might be confused on, we can hit. All right. Let's take. I do have initiative to start, and well, Americans have initiative to start. So I tell you what, I'm going to take. I know they're going to attempt to or put down their sniper for their first thing, so I'm going to go ahead and attempt for my tank to see if I can get it back. Hopefully I can. We'll just have to see what happens. And I know I'm going to be moving around my little dice tray here as we play because I'm going to have tanks end up moving that way. Alright guys, hope for a low roll because I could really use an extra M1 right now because I do not have a lot. I only have 3 tanks to start with, and yes, they do have better firepower and better armor, but greater numbers really do come into play. So 1 or 2, here we go. 1! There it is, you guys see it, there's the 1. And this is one long clip, I haven't cut it or patched it, so I got my extra tank. Now hopefully the rest of them will roll 3 and higher. So we're gonna take and pull this off here and put it over back with our smoke markers. And now we have an extra M1 in their area, but unfortunately he ain't gonna last long because he is right there point blank at him. Since I said I was gonna do it, I am gonna take and place down the sniper in the building that I said he was gonna go in. And now we'll get into the first turn proper. And I don't know when I'll take and do the rest of their activating their tanks. I don't want to take and keep taking my turns while seeing if they activate their tanks because that just gives me a chance to blow them away a whole lot. Let's see here. Here's an idea that I had though about this tank. I am real close and I have a line of fire against this ZSU, which a lot of you guys commented about, that it's a 23 millimeter 4 cannon Soviet armored fighting vehicle that is also an anti-air weapon. And you can actually tell by looking on the back of it on these things because they have 2 sets of numbers. Top is like if you're firing ground units and the blue numbers are for firing at air units. So here's the thing. I could take and use my one little free shot here to take and go after that thing. So my 1 A10 run has a good free shot at him. But then I'm wasting, because I don't anticipate this tank lasting. He's going to get shot in the ass point blank on the very next turn. So should I take the shot at enemy tank instead? I'll tell you what, let's see, is this degrading terrain? Crops are... A wheat field is blocking terrain? You gotta be kidding me. I'll be damned. Wheat fields are blocking. I thought they were degrading. Okay, well that negates that idea. Because I was thinking I could go after this guy that has an armored leader with a bonus on him. But I can't, so I can't pivot or anything like that because, well, to change, I can't pivot the tank, but I can turn the turret, I think, without inducing opportunity fire. So I could turn, because it doesn't cost any movement points to turn the turret, but it does to pivot the tank. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to take... Damn, this is like, do I shoot? Well, if I turn the turret, I could shoot at this tank at a point blank range, which will increase my die roll modifier by 2, and really it makes it to where the only way I could miss is if I rolled double 12, because that's an automatic miss. But honestly, at this range with these guys, you see his penetration is 14, and the 11 there is the to hit roll there on the left column. So really the only way I could miss at this range is with a natural roll of a 12 regardless. But I would be firing at a weaker side of his armor. If I came in this way, turn the turret, I could take and fire at his side armor instead of his front armor. Their front armor is 12 and 13, side is 8 and 9. So I'm thinking I go after the guy that's right next to me and try to turn him into a wreck with my high penetration value at point blank range. So let's do that. Let me grab a turret marker for me. I did grab one for this guy. We're going to take and point his little turret right there at him. Okay. He is firing at this T80 BV. You see the armor values there are 12, 13, and it's hull on the left, turret on the right. Okay. And we'll get into what does what and all that good stuff. Let me actually go ahead and grab the chart here, and here we go. Ordnance versus vehicles, we're going to take and walk through this. Okay, the attacker is going to take and roll 1d6 plus your penetration, but this is after you hit. Okay, and the armor, the target rolls 1d6 plus the armor's thickness from whatever. And where is it that it tells you if it's a hull or a turret? There's somewhere that tells you where it's a hull or a turret, and it's not on this side, is it? Let's see. Hold on one sec, guys. I literally just saw this too, and okay, here it is. A hit from even dice roll 2d6 that is greater than 2 hits the tank's turret. Okay, so that's the 2 hit. So the way that works is when I'm rolling 2d6, if it's a roll of a 2 or an odd number, it hits the hull of the tank. If it's an even number that's greater than 2, it hits the turret of the tank. Okay, this is what I was talking about. There's a lot of finicky rules when you start getting into this, so that's why I'm just walking it through real slow. We're going to take our time with it. All right, I'm doing my 2d6. The only thing that I can miss with is a natural 12, and I mean even the ordnance modifier gets me even greater than that, but still it's an automatic miss with a 2. Let's see if there's anything else. And the vehicle's open, that gets me another -1, so technically I should be able to roll like a 14 or under, but none of that's going to matter. There's no degrading terrain between us. Vehicle's not doing hasn't done assault movement, not a night scenario, it's not moved, and it's not in a terrain modifier. The place I'm looking here is your ordnance fire table. Okay, you want to just walk through that there. Okay, so my modifiers at this point are adjacent and the vehicle's open, which allows me to subtract 3 from my die roll. But like I said previously, a roll of a natural 12 is still an automatic miss, just like a 2 is an automatic hit no matter your modifiers. All right, rolling here. All right, I was worried that this was going to pop up as that. Okay, so we got an even roll, and I already forgot it. Where was it? A hit from even dice that's greater than 2 hits the turret. All right, that means I'm looking at the second number here. I would have liked to have hit his hull because his hull is actually weaker. So I'm going against his turret. They're in the middle because I'm hitting him from the side. So then his armor value is a 9. Okay. My penetration value is a 14. Okay. So basically I get a die roll modifier of 14 and he gets one of 9. Let's take and put this down. Put my turret back facing at him. And this is why I wish I could take and use the X maps when I'm filming. I always use them when I'm taking and playing by myself, but it's harder when I'm filming and I gotta get so much stuff into the camera. Okay, now we're at ordnance versus vehicles. Like I said previously, the attacker 1d6 plus the penetration value at the range. Okay, my range is point blank, so I've got the best penetration of 14, and the defender has 1d6 plus the armor thickness from wherever he's being hit from, which we saw is the side of the turret. One thing to keep in mind is if you're firing heat ammo, which I'm not, and it hits red armor numbers, you reduce that die roll number by 4. All right, heat is your high explosive anti-tank ammo. Okay. Funny thing actually about it, in World War II, you know, they learned so much about armor and tanks. Hitler was big on just big, heavy tanks that were just thick, full of armor, like the Tiger. You know, he wanted the heavy tanks, but he didn't understand to use sloping armor. And one of the reasons the Russians were able to push him back so easily is because they were building cheap tanks with sloped armor. The T-34 had, it was something like a 34, so many degrees, 39 degree or whatever, sloped armor, which effectively increased armor thickness without adding extra armor. It made it to where it had to pass through more millimeters of armor without having more millimeters armor, if you get what I'm saying. There's plenty of videos online that explain the principle. But then as technology improved, things like the M1 has what's called reactive armor. So yes, it actually has armor on it, but then it actually has an explosive on the outside of it that will explode out, blowing the force of the incoming shell away from it. I'm not sure what the Russians have. All right. Sorry guys, I didn't mean for the history lesson there, but yeah, I love all this stuff. Okay, so Russians get a 9, I get a 14, plus whatever we roll. White is always going to be for American, red for Russian for obvious reasons. Yay! Okay, so I get a 20 total, okay, and they got an 11 total. Now you're going to take and actually a 6 for me if the attacker's roll of 1. Nope. My attack of a 6 makes it a catastrophic hit versus a 1, but they didn't get a 1. 6 versus 1 is catastrophic, target destroyed by it. If the attacker's roll is greater than the target's roll, target is destroyed. Okay, so just like that, they've lost a tank. And then on down the line, if the target roll is equal to, if the attacker's roll is equal to the target's roll, the target takes a morale check, shaken, damaged. If the morale check fails, the crew abandons and takes a morale check. If passes, target is shaken. If attacker's roll is less than the target's roll, the target takes a morale check minus the difference of the die rolls. If the morale check fails, the target is shaken. So that's how you're going to end up with a shaken tank. Okay, so if they're fired at and miss, or you know the defender's roll is greater in the end, they still have to take that morale check. And if they don't pass the morale check, then they end up shaken, at which point you would just hit them with a shaken marker. Some vehicles have shaken on the back of them. But in our case, this is good. I was able to destroy the tank, so I'm going to replace it with a wreck marker. here. Bam! Just like that, we've taken out our first Russian tank. This is good news. And what do you guys think? We'll just end the video here and call this game? Nah, I know you guys want to see more. Okay, so let's see what the Russians are going to do. That was a great first turn for me, but I got a feeling this tank isn't going to last. All right, pull it up here. There's nobody at range 1. There is no one at range 2. They're definitely not going to pass. They don't have any shaken units. Highest firepower enemy unit closest to a shaken unit. There is no shaken unit. AEO closest to a target move towards. Oh, excuse me. I forgot to put a fired marker on my guy. And let's see. And just so you guys know, the vehicles, the ones that are out here in the open, they're spotted. So no need to worry about the spotting, especially since I was adjacent to it. Why would they move towards? Actually, moving towards might not be a bad idea at this point, because right now a lot of their guys don't have lines of sight on my guys. Their back tank doesn't. This one doesn't. What are we thinking here? They can assault move. So I'll tell you what, I might do an assault move. I think I'm going to count that as an assault move for these guys. What do they have? They have 20. So, and that, let me look on the terrain chart, see if road gives them any bonus for trek. It does not, but it will just cost him 1. So I can move this guy 10 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And still shoot. 5. And they don't have to worry about him until the next turn because he's already activated. I got him down to there. I would get him a line of sight on this tank. Or we could have him go after this weapon team here. 1, 2, to get him in the line of sight. 1, 2, 3, and then fire in at the weapon team. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go this way. Now, again, this is how I play solo, all right? I'll read the card and then make a decision for the enemy based on what I think's best for them. Again, that's how I play. I've seen others play it to where they'll pull the card, and if there's options, they'll roll off on it. If you want to take as much of the decision-making process out of your hands as possible, that's what I would do. I would take and say, okay, well, it could be this one, or this one. We'll take and roll a d6, and on a 1, 2, it's this 3, 4, that one, 5, 6, that one. All right. But for me, this is just the way I like to play solo. So, and I'm the one filming, so you guys are stuck with the way I like to do it. 1, 2, 3. If I go there, I've got line of sight, and I can try to take out the weapon team down here. This is an American anti-tank guided missile. I think it'd be good for them to try to take that out. Yep. Right here would give him line of sight down there. Let's take and grab. Where the hell's my assault move? There it is. Assault move. And he's firing there. Let's take and look at our stats and see what we got. Alright. Again, the top ranges are, the top numbers are the range. Okay. Then you got your to hit rolls and then your penetration values. Penetration values are going to apply again when it comes to your vehicles. He should be easily within 12 hexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So he's at his best range. He has a 10 or under, which is not a bad roll. Let's take an eyeball our ordnance fire chart to see what type of modifiers he's going to get. He's got no leadership modifier. The vehicle is open, so he's getting a -1. Turret, weapon firing outside covered arc. Ooh, I missed this one actually on mine, but it didn't matter. I had so many others going, so it wouldn't have mattered. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's so many little modifiers, you can't keep track of all of them. Not moved with a SART move. Per hex of degrading terrain. There is no degrading terrain in between him and that, unless, what the fudge is that? I think that's a parking lot. Let's see here. Yeah, that looks like a parking lot. Yeah, that's a parking lot. That's not degrading terrain. Mounted on a vehicle using assault movement or an ops complete vehicle. Yes, so he's going to have a +2 to his roll there. So right now he's at -1 +2. AA helicopter firing at night. Nope. Adjacent move marked with a mood or assault move marker. Can't be both of those. Oh, these are the target. Okay, so yep, that doesn't apply. Okay, so his end result is -1 and +2. So he's coming out to a +1, which isn't horrible. So with his 10, that means he needs to roll a 9 or under on a 2d6 to hit. And then we're going to get into his actual weapon values, and right now we're at his ordnance. He still has his machine guns that he can fire. That, if I remember right, machine guns with a 4 firepower can fire up to 14 hexes, and 2 can fire up to 10. So he's still within range either way. So let's take care of his main cannon here first. 9 or under for a hit. 3. That is absolutely a hit. Okay, so he's hit. Now remember, he doesn't, oh, and I had to add the terrain modifier for the building the guy was in, so that also would have counted against him, but with a 3, he hit regardless, so moot point there. That would have dropped him down to a 6 or under, so that shot wasn't as good as I thought it was originally. But his HE value is 6. 6, which you can see there next to his morale. It's the blue 6 square, not the 6 rounded thing. That's his morale. So, ordnance against infantry. Where's my old chart? Let me find the right spot. Okay. The attacker is going to take and roll 1d6 plus the HE equivalent, plus 1 to HE value if the infantry target is moving, not low crawling, which it's not. Heat ammo, all right, if it's red, H on the back, -1 to HE if infantry target is not in a building. We are not using heat ammo. It doesn't have the red on the back of the counter, so we don't have to worry about that aspect of it. So with his value of a 6, it's going to be 6 plus 1d6 against my roll, all right? And I just roll 1d6. My terrain modifier actually doesn't come into play, so these guys are pretty well screwed. Again, red for Soviets, white for Americans. Ooh, that's bad. 1-1. I've seen a lot of 1s here this turn. Okay, so they end up getting a 7 total while I got a 1, which means the difference is 6. So it's 6 on the direct fire table. All right, here. And we're gonna take and multi-man counter, the usual thing right here, roll on that. Their morale is a 6, so they're gonna be shaken at a minimum. 2 plus the 6 they hit him with is 8. It's going to be the second level there. So the counter gets flipped. Nope, doesn't get flipped because it's got ordnance on the back, so it's going to get marked with a shaken marker. And we're going to mark them with a fired marker. So, just like that, we are back down to me. Can't believe my tank still survived right there. You know, if I'd been thinking, I probably would have had them shoot at the tank. Had it so stuck in my head that these tanks weren't in the game, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that they could shoot at him. My goof, they'll kill him on the next turn probably. Alright. What are we going to do? They shook my weapon team. Let's see here. What do I want to activate? What do I want to activate? I'm thinking I need to get my tank shots off first because they're my best chance at survival. And I've got my tanks tucked back here. Now, since this one has a line of sight, it's going to start with this hex and it goes on up. So I can hit this tank here, but I can't hit anything north of it unless I pivot the turrets. I can pivot the turret, so it's not that big of a deal. This guy's got anti-tank missiles, but I think I've got a better chance with this here. But I probably need to try to eliminate this Russian tank down here, the one that's in closer range. I'm going to start with the leader back here, since he's tucked so far back, and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 coming in. We're going to call that front there against his front armor. And at a range of 10, it's easily the first range. Again, as usual, 20 or under. To hit roll is a natural 11 with a penetration value of 14. So these Abrams are pretty damn tough, let me tell you. Let's take and walk through our ordnance fire table again. And like I said, guys, I'm doing it slow this time just to make sure I get everything as right as possible. My leadership modifier is hitting me with a -1. Vehicle's open, so I'm hitting another -1. The turret is not firing outside the covered arc. I'm firing straight ahead, so that's not affecting it. And I'm not firing, it's not a multi-man counter, so it doesn't matter. There's no degrading terrain. This is all open terrain. It's not a weapon team. I'm not using assault movement, not AA, not a helicopter, not firing at night. The target's not adjacent, not marked with a moved marker, not a helicopter. And is he in? Oh, he is in a terrain modifier. So the terrain modifier that is going to add to it. What is he in? He's in light woods. That is a target modifier of +1, but I'm already getting a -2, so that still brings me down to my best thing. I just can't roll boxcars. As long as I don't roll boxcars, I can hit him. Damn, I tell you what, these A1s can hit. I mean, they can do some hurt on some. No wonder I only got 3 of these things to start the game with. I love these things. All right, I think I've got it all. Let's take and roll on it. Let me grab the next chart for when I hit this SOB. Watch it, it's going to be train tracks for it. All right, so 7, we're good. We got the hit. It is against his front armor, and since it's a odd roll, it's against his hull, okay? His hull is a 12, okay? So he gets his 12 and I get 14 plus the 1d6. All right, not heat, so it doesn't matter. Yep, 14 plus my d6, 12 plus his d6. If I beat him, he's destroyed. So, I beat him. I got a 16, he got a 13. He's out for the count. So let's grab this. Put a rect marker in there. These guys are going down like flies. Where did I put that other one that got destroyed earlier? I lost the tank somewhere. Oh well. I'll have to find it later. I'm hoping I didn't just leave it on. I destroyed it. I picked it up and moved it somewhere. But I have no idea where it is. Alright, and just so you guys are keeping track, it was 2 plus the 14 penetration value of my M1. Alright, that gave me 16 total. 1 plus his armor value of, what was it again? 12, which came to 13. And as long as the attacker's roll beats it, the target is destroyed. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now we're going back to the Russian turn. Let's see, what are they gonna do? Oh, I keep forgetting to put down my damn markers. All right, fired. We're good there. I know they're gonna fire at that tank. They need to. Can't believe I goofed that. Or do I want to try to activate one of their tanks? Because no wonder they're gonna need some more tanks. Let's see what the card says and I'll make a judgment call on it. No range 1, no range 2. Offboard artillery, which they do have offboard artillery. So do I. I need to remember to do that. But I might save some of that for turn 2 or 3 or something like that. In terrain with positive terrain modifier closest to a good order player unit fire. Alright, so that's going to be them firing here. The ones that have a terrain modifier are going to be this tank, this weapon team, and I think these guys are out in the open. Let's see, yeah, those are the ones that have line of sight onto them. Who do we want to fire with? Do we want to fire with the weapon team? What type of thing do they have? They're going to automatically hit, doesn't even require a roll, so that's probably best for them. But they're firing heat ammo, which means they're going to subtract 4, which they're going to have a hard time. Okay, this is their anti-tank weapon team. All right, when you look to the back, if it's at range 10 or under, that little star means you don't even have to roll. They auto hit. All right, so it's great for them to auto hit, but they're effectively firing with a 6 penetration since they're firing heat ammo against a red armor value. So that's not good. This tank, ooh, this is the ace tank gunner. He has a special ability and he's got armor value. Wait, is that? Oh wait, never mind, that crop field is in between them. That's blocking terrain. Yep, that is blocking terrain. I forgot about that. So what are they gonna do? They need to fire at that. I'll tell you what, since this tank is blocked, he's gonna have to take the shot, and this weapon team's not gonna get as good a shot here. I mean, he's not even having to roll to hit, so that removes the chance of him losing his weapon. Where is the spot that talks about that? I'll have to find it in a sec. I don't want to keep digging around while you guys are watching, but those anti-tank guided missiles have a special rule in this game. It's something to do with rolling the colored die, and if you roll it on a hit, like when you're trying to hit, you possibly lose it. Okay, here it is. The anti-tank guided missiles. It's a 2-step process. The unit announces its target. Okay, conduct op fire. That's not it. Okay, if the colored die on the anti-tank guided missiles target is less than the anti-tank guided missiles depletion number, resolve the current attack, but the unit is out of ammo henceforth. Now the number is that number in the square there, so 4. But these guys aren't having to roll a hit, so that makes that a moot point. If the color dye on the anti-tank guided missile target is less than that. Kind of got me lost there. I know I'm supposed to be teaching you guys, and this little rule's kind of throwing me for a loop. So let's just take and play it by ear, and we'll see what's rolled and on the target. Well, I guess that means if the target rolls less than a 4, then this is considered out of ammo. And I've got out of ammo markers for it. Okay, anyway, it's an automatic hit. He's firing against the front armor here. And the front armor is 16-16, so it doesn't matter hull or turret on it. It's 16-16. Where was I? I do have a terrain modifier, but again, that's not going to matter because he's auto hitting at that close of a range. He's got, this weapon team has me thrown for a loop. Like I said, we're slowing it down though, and you guys are walking through it with me. Okay. His modifier is a 6 against my 16. You know what? He can't even damage it. He can't even damage it because if I rolled a 6 plus that, the highest he can hit is a 12, which isn't even higher than that armor value. So I'd be wasting the whole turn for these guys doing that. There's no way he's going to fire that at it. It's just not useful for them. We're going to take and do a tank shot instead because that just doesn't make any sense for them. All right, so we're going to have a different unit fire at them regardless. And I'll tell you what, we're going to take and instead of me moving this guy to get a line of sight, which would give me an opportunity to op fire, I'm going to use this tank back here and scooch him over to try to fire at the rear of my tank instead of, you get what I'm saying? I don't want to give my guys the op fire chance. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I can wiggle my array around. A wreck is degrading terrain, so I want to keep that away from it. I can fire at the side armor though if I get there. So we will go there, side armor, right there into him. And his to hit roll is a 10, but he's getting to subtract 2 because the target is adjacent. But he's also, I think, adding 1 for the assault movement. Let's take and pull it up here. Okay. The vehicle's open, so he's subtracting 1. And he moved, the assault moved, which is adding 2. And adjacent, which is subtracting 2. So +2, -2, -1. So he's going to hit on a roll of 11. So as long as him, again, as long as no natural 12 is rolled, he hit. And depending on what the hit roll is, we'll know if it's turret or hull armor. How many times have I rolled snake eyes this time? Snake eyes, again, is a natural hit or automatic hit no matter what. So when a 2 is rolled, that is, I got it even. I'm brain farting out, I can't remember this thing. Even dice roll is the takes turret if it's greater than 2. So it's against the hull. Hull side armor on my guy. The hull is 10, so it's 10-10, doesn't matter either way. And it looks like the only thing that doesn't have that retroactive anti-heat armor is the hull at the rear. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so 10 for him, versus the penetration value of 13. So I'm probably losing a tank on this one. Russian red, my guy, white. Oh, almost a catastrophe, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, he is destroyed because they're adding 5 to theirs, gets them a 18. I'm adding 1 to my armor value, which gives me an 11, so they automatically destroy me. We'll take and pull this off and replace it with a wrecked marker. Mark him with a fired marker. Tell you what, tanks don't last long, especially when you're firing at point blank range. All right, that brings us back up to my turn. Let me make sure I'm keeping the dice tray in line of sight for you guys. Well, I've lost a tank and they've lost 2. So that's not bad, but I've got 1 shaken unit. It is a weapon team, so it can self-rally. I'm thinking, all right, I've got 2 of my tanks here. They're out of the line of sight, so I can wait and make them come up. Rush these guys down south like I talked about and try to pull them around on the following turns. But are they in line for op fire? Okay, this guy's pointing here, so he's got line of sight to there. Okay, so he does not have line of sight. He's not going to turn his turret on my impulse. This tank isn't activated yet, so I can scoot these guys around to the bottom of the trees without having to worry about it, as these guys have fired on it. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we're going to do that. I'm going to start scooting these guys to the bottom of the trees. That way I can get my leaders around down here and have them looking up this way for line of sight, so I can call in an artillery shot in this general region. I can call in for smoke here to try to give me some more blocking and degrading terrain to push up my armored vehicles. And these guys, they just have machine guns, so they're only going to be good against infantry. The vehicles are just going to be good against infantry, but the guys have support weapons, rockets, but they got to get a little closer to use them. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get these guys moved before any tank shells can come down in their direction. So they've got an 18 on their movement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll stop this one there, and I'll just move them up on the next few turns. So this first one is going to there, and like I said, I'm stopping to keep blocking terrain between me and them, and on the following turns I'll be swinging up north to go after them. All right, let's draw our next card. I'll tell you what, since I'm doing something easy and I'm not picking them off right now, and I'm getting these guys moved, it'll be a good time for them to see if any of these tanks are going to activate. So this tank here, rolling anything but a 1 or 2. Oh my goodness. So they have another tank. All right, that is not good for me. We both got 1 extra tank. I can live with it. Again, I'm going to get my movement going here. Get my guys out of sight. We'll roll again for this far tank over here. Can you guys see that one? Yep, you guys can see that. Come on, 3, 4, 5, or 6. All right, now that means this one is destroyed permanently. I don't have to worry about it. We'll leave the smoke marker there, and I flipped it over. And I'll get this last guy moved up here. And again, this tank didn't have line of sight on these guys, so no op fire on them. And 1 more roll for them here before we get back into the crux of it. 4, so this one is destroyed as well. That's good for me. All right, I broke away there for a sec to grab a little something to drink, and I realized how long I'd actually been going. I'm having fun with this game, so I definitely got distracted, and I went a little longer than I anticipated. And like I said, this first turn, I fully planned on it being a two-parter. I'm trying to keep these at an hour at most, because I know what it is to want to watch things on YouTube, and you look at it and you're like, an hour? What the hell are you doing for an hour? I'm gonna go ahead and pause it here. I know it's my turn, and we'll go from there. I still have these few units back here to take care of. They have one more unit to attempt to activate to see if it's destroyed or not, and then these few remaining vehicles here. I wanted to expound a little bit on why I didn't take this shot with this weapon team. I didn't know if I explained that well enough, but the basic gist of why I didn't take that shot is because the angle at which he was firing was against that tank's best armor, and there was no way he could penetrate it. Couldn't do any damage. His penetration wasn't high enough with the penalty. Excuse me. The penalty he took for the heat ammo, the high explosive anti-tank weapon that he was using. So there was no point in wasting the shot. That's why I decided to do the other tank instead. And again, don't feel like you have to play solo the way I play. I play the way that works for me and the way that's fun for me. And that's part of the reason I like these solo modules, all right? The other ones that I've played have been a little more rigid and not as adaptable. And in this, I can use it as my guideline. Okay, hey, this is what the enemy is generally trying to do. What should, on the board, what should they do to accomplish that feat? And then that's what I do. That way, I'm not making the decision if they move, fire, or whatever. It's the cards are making that decision, but I'm kind of picking around what the board does to make that decision happen. And like I said, you guys can take and roll off on it. You can take and do any number of things. It goes into more depth in the solo module rulebook on how to use it specifically. Like I said, I use it the way it works for me. Don't feel like you have to follow exactly what I do. You know, do what works for you. The point at the end of the day is to have fun. As long as you're having fun, it doesn't matter. But we'll give a little recap of where we're at. I'll zoom in real quick so you guys can see. The Russians are not doing well. I can see why the Americans do not have too many tanks. They've lost 2 tanks. One of those tanks is my former tank. But they lost 1 tank up there. They lost another one down there. And the good part though is they were able to respawn 1 tank as it is, which was another T-80 BV that they were able to get back. So that helps cover some of their losses. And me, I have 1 shaken weapon team. And again, I lost my M1 up there that was at point blank range for them. But the rest of my assault force down here, because these guys, they're not going to do much. This is a massive amount of my units that can't really do a whole lot unless they can kind of get behind or get flanked or something, because they're not hitting with a whole lot of firepower. They've got machine guns and some law rockets, some 203s. Which one of these guys has one of the rockets? I want to show you guys that so you can see what kind of firepower they're actually using. Now, these guys would do great against those bunches of infantry that are up there. And I'm kind of hoping my tanks can pick off their tanks so my fast-moving infantry can get up there. And as you can see, the stats on that law rocket, it's a heat rocket. It doesn't fire very far, 6 hexes max, and the penetration's an 8, but look at it, it's red. So if I fire at any part of an enemy tank that has red armor, I'm subtracting 4 from that penetration, and that's almost a guaranteed not going to work. So I need to get around to the rear of them or something to that effect to have a good chance. But I can fire that law rocket into those buildings where all their troops are located at and do some serious hurt on them. But anyway, that's where we're at for now. I'm going to go ahead and get the video shot, done, rendered, and up, and I'll take and film the rest of this turn probably tomorrow for you guys. And I'll tell you what, get this down to the table. Get Heroes Against the Red Star. I love this. I love the M1s. I'm going nuts over these. I've always been a big World War II fan, but having some Abrams on the table just making me giddy. Anyway, you guys take care. I'll see you in the next video.